the original poster of this story, so we're going to call him Ken. And Ken loves hunting. Sometimes deer, maybe a turkey for Thanksgiving, but mostly hunts wild boar. And boar are a huge problem in the U.S. A sow can have 2 litters a year, each of which being 10 pigs or more. Given that pigs eat anything and everything, it's not hard to see why the Department of Fish and Wildlife just tell hunters to have at it for the most part. Where Ken lives, it's illegal to hunt most large game animals with either night or thermal vision scopes, with the exception of boar and coyote. Game on! No pun intended. He saves his pennies for a whole year. And despite the fact that it costs twice as much as his actual rifle, he buys that thermal scope, takes it to the range, and sights it in. And he knows just the right spot for his first night hunt. The night starts pretty quietly, with Ken spending most of his time messing around with his new toy and figuring out how to use it. He sees a few deer, but it's not deer season, so he waits and waits. He finally caves to his boredom and moves to another spot. Probably wasn't going to be any better than his first spot, but it keeps him busy and it gives him a new area to look around with his scope. After an hour or so of amusing himself with the scope's bells and whistles, dawns on him that the spot doesn't have much animal activity at all. No rabbits, no owls, no nothing. Ken hadn't even seen any deer since he left that first spot. Why was this spot so lively during the day, but dead at night? It's about 2 a.m., and after about 4 hours of seeing exactly squat for boar, starts thinking about packing up. Maybe he'll just do a little target shooting before he goes. He hears a crunch come from the direction of the first spot. Before he even gets his scope over there, he sees the silhouette of a small bear pushing through the bushes. He looks through the scope, adjusts his range, zooms in a little. Now just know that Ken's scope isn't night vision. It's a thermal scope. So it's not like the rainbow of moving colors like you see in the Predator movies. It's kind of like a black and white version of that. As Ken hones in on this bear, he feels a shock roll through his system. It's not a bear. It's a man. At least that's the closest thing his mind can relate it to. Now, who in the hell is sneaking around in the bushes in the middle of nowhere at 2 a.m.? Is that a game warden? Can't be. He would have seen their headlights coming up the road from where he's perched, and it's too far to have walked from anywhere else. He is 30 miles away from anything. Ken's about to call out when he dials his scope in a little better and notices the man's naked. No shoes, pants, or anything. He watches its movements with disturbed fascination as it twitches and grabs at the foliage like a squirrel or something, sniffing around and touching the tree. Wasn't that his tree? The one he'd been leaning on earlier? That thought freaks Ken out. Can it smell him? Then the man does something Ken still has nightmares about to this day. He squats down low with one hand on the ground between his feet, lifts his head straight up like a dog howling at the moon. And Ken hears it, a voice coming from that direction, a very compelling female voice.
Help! I'm lost.
For a long time, neither of them move. Ken aims his rifle at the dirt between the man's feet. He can't bring himself to aim directly at another person. Gun safety 101. Don't aim at it unless you intend to kill it. But who is it? Is this some guy living off the grid? Or a feral person? Maybe a tweaker who wandered off while he was high and got lost. But why was his voice so feminine? Ken hears that voice again.
Help, please. I can't walk.
What? This is BS. Not only can the man walk, but when Ken first saw him, he was traipsing around pretty easily for a naked person, so much so that Ken mistook him for a bear. Ken thinks, this guy is trying to lure me to him with a damsel in distress routine. Luckily, because nothing was going on earlier, Ken had already packed up most of his gear. He may have left behind a hat and a sitting pad, but at this point, he doesn't give a crap. He takes his eyes off the man for a second to get his pack on. He quickly buckles his chest strap and scrambles to get the rifle scope back to his eye. The man's in the same spot, but he's staring right at Ken. The thermal scope has this effect that makes animal eyes appear white, and Ken can clearly see these two huge white shining eyes. And to his horror, Ken sees him smile. How in the hell did he hear Ken get up and put on his gear? He is easily 150 yards away.
F off!
Ken screams in that direction. The man stands upright, and it hits Ken how tall and skinny he is. Easily 6 feet and super skinny. He takes a couple long strides in Ken's direction. Ken thinks, "I don't think so," and fires a warning shot over his head into the trees. The man freezes, drops down on all fours.
The next one will F you up! Go away!
Ken screams. He stays on all fours, but now Ken has his sights trained on him center mass. The man's eyes are just above the grass like a large cat or something. Ken's trying to stop shaking and heard his voice crack a little bit on his last warning. He is terrified. The standoff feels like it goes on for an eternity, but it probably only lasts a minute or two. The man breaks the stare down by bolting left toward the tree line opposite the road. So much for not being able to walk. And he's moving so fast that Ken can hardly even keep the scope on him. The man disappears into the bushes, and Ken sends another round sailing high in his direction, just for good measure. He racks another round and tries to swap mags for a fresh one, but drops the old one in the process. He doesn't even bother looking for it. He's not far from his truck, and he just wants to get out of there. From the same area of trees the man had disappeared into, Ken hears this weird screaming sound that could either be a laugh or a cry. He scrambles up the trail and gets back to his truck, totally winded. He tosses his gear into the cab, making sure the rifle is in easy reach on the passenger seat, and takes off. Ken tells the Fish and Game department that they need to go check out that area, that there's some deranged crackhead living off the land like some kind of caveman. But all they do is scold him for hunting at night alone. Ken has since gone down the rabbit hole on cryptid stories and really doesn't know exactly what he saw that night. But if these things really exist, he thinks he may be the one who dodged a bullet that night.